The Galactic Council chamber was a temple of dominance. Orbiting high above the capital world of Xiphos 9, it loomed as a monument to galactic rule, a place where warlords and diplomats shaped the fate of entire civilizations with a single word. Inside its grand halls, beneath an obsidian dome lined with shimmering holograms, the most powerful beings in the known universe convened. And they were laughing. On a massive holo display, spanning the length of the chamber, footage of the latest conquest played in crystal-clear resolution. The human colony of Vespa 12 had fallen. Thousands of human prisoners were paraded through the streets, their hands bound behind their backs, their weapons confiscated and displayed as trophies. Towering Korvac warriors, a reptilian species with crimson scales and jagged exoskeletal armor, stood at attention, their plasma rifles gleaming under the alien sun. It was a scene of absolute, undeniable dominance. Ambassador Silix, a high-ranking Korvac official, leaned back in his throne-like seat at the center of the chamber. His four mandibles curled into an amused smirk, his slitted yellow eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Humans are flumbly creatures, he sneered, gesturing toward the holo display. Uncoordinated. Weak. Pathetic. A ripple of cruel laughter spread through the council members. At the far end of the chamber, Supreme Strategist Katal, a towering insectoid with a carapace the color of dried blood, clicked his mandibles in agreement. Flumbly is an understatement, he said, his voice a dry, rasping hiss. Their weapons are primitive. Kinetic projectiles? They might as well be using stones and sticks. More laughter. Another voice joined in, this one metallic and emotionless. High Lord Drekken 7, a cybernetic entity whose body was more machine than organic, studied the human captives on the screen. His red optic sensors flashed. They still rely on outdated tactics. Their species has no understanding of true war. It was unanimous. Humanity was nothing. Their resistance had been laughable. Their warriors, easily broken. It was almost too easy. The holo feed shifted to the central square of Vespa 12. A massive crowd of defeated humans stood in silence, surrounded by Korvac soldiers. At the forefront, a human general was forced to his knees, his uniform torn and stained with blood. His name was General Lucas Harrington, one of humanity's most decorated military leaders. Now, he was nothing more than a prisoner. Silix leaned forward, watching with great amusement as Harrington was handed a datapad. The general's hands were bound, his knuckles bruised and blooded from whatever interrogation he had suffered earlier. A Korvac officer stood beside him, plasma rifle aimed at his head. "Read," the alien commanded, his voice full of arrogance. "Let your people hear their final surrender." The council members smirked. Harrington stared at the datapad, his jaw tightening. His breath was slow and controlled, but his eyes burned with something different. Hatred. Rage. A promise. A promise that the council failed to recognize. For several long seconds, he didn't speak. The air was thick with tension. The Korvac officer snarled, jabbing the plasma rifle into his temple. "Read it, human." Harrington inhaled sharply. Then, with deliberate slowness, he lifted his gaze, not to the officer, but to the sky. A thin, knowing smirk flickered across his blooded lips. The camera feed glitched. A strange interference, a shadow crossing the screen. Then, a single, deafening gunshot. The Korvac officer's head snapped back violently, his helmet shattering, blood misting into the air. His body crumpled to the ground in a lifeless heap. Static. The holo feed cut to black. Silence. Absolute silence. The council chamber, once filled with laughter and mockery, was now deathly quiet. The shock in the air was palpable. Silix's mandibles twitched. What just happened? A communication officer scrambled to restore the feed, his claws tapping furiously against the control panel. No signal. Re-establish the transmission, Silix barked. "I want to see the colony, now." A second attempt. Nothing. Finally, an emergency transmission came through. A Korvac commander, his face pale, his mandibles twitching in fear. "Sir," the officer stammered, "we have a situation." Silix narrowed his eyes. "What kind of situation?" The commander swallowed hard. His voice trembled. "One of our officers was killed." A ripple of confusion spread through the chamber. "By whom?" Katal asked, tilting his massive, insectoid head. "We don't know." Drekken 7's red optics flashed. "You mean to tell me that a human prisoner overpowered a fully armored Korvac soldier and took his weapon?" "No," the commander said, shaking his head. "It wasn't the prisoners. It was a single shot. Silence. A single shot. Silix repeated, his voice laced with disbelief. The officer nodded. Yes. It came from outside the city. We don't know where exactly. We have teams scanning for the shooter, but... He hesitated, mandibles clicking nervously. But what? Another pause. Another officer just died, the commander finally admitted. Same way. A single round to the head. Silix's mandibles tightened. A low murmur spread through the council. Perhaps a surviving human soldier is attempting a foolish resistance, Keital mused. Deploy a scouting unit and eliminate them. The commander hesitated. There's something else. Silix narrowed his eyes. What? The Korvac officer swallowed hard before speaking. It's not just officers. Sniper fire is hitting patrols across the colony. Always one shot. Always a kill. A deep, sinking feeling settled over the chamber. Drekken 7's red optics narrowed. How many casualties? The officer's throat bobbed. At least 20. Maybe more. A new kind of silence fell over the council. This was no random human rebellion. This was something else. Something they didn't understand. Silix inhaled deeply, gripping the edge of his throne. His confidence wavered. Find them, he ordered, his voice quieter now. Find them and kill them. The officer nodded sharply, but there was fear in his eyes. He already knew the truth. They weren't hunting the sniper. The sniper was hunting them. The fear spread like wildfire. At first, the Korvac commanders believed the sniper attacks were nothing more than remnants of human resistance, some desperate survivors taking potshots from the ruins. A nuisance, nothing more. But then the bodies kept dropping. One by one. Every kill was precise, calculated. A single shot to the head. Always. The sniper was like a ghost, never seen, never heard, yet always present. And now, the once mighty Galactic Council had gone from laughing at humanity, to hunting something they didn't understand. Korvac Command Post, Vesper 12. Where the hell is he? Commander Vorkash stood in the middle of a high-tech war room, his scaled fists clenched behind his back, claws flexing anxiously. Massive holomaps displayed the entire colony city of Vesper 12, with countless Korvac squads moving through the urban ruins. Red markers blinked on the screen, each one a confirmed kill. There were too many. Far too many. Vorkash turned to his second-in-command, Lieutenant Kurtal. Have we tracked the sniper's position yet? Kurtal's crimson scales were slick with nervous sweat. His mandibles twitched as he stared at the battlefield reports. Negative, Commander. Every time we think we have a trajectory, he moves. Vorkash's yellow eyes narrowed. Explain. Kurtal gestured toward the holographic battlefield map. We've marked the location of every confirmed kill. Based on distance and angle, the sniper should be firing from these high-rises along the city outskirts. Vorkash folded his arms. Then why haven't we killed him? The lieutenant hesitated. Every time we send a squad to investigate, they don't return. Vorkash's nostrils flared. He leaned closer. You're telling me one human sniper has killed, how many now? Kurtal swallowed. 43. The war room fell silent. 43 Korvac soldiers. Elite troops. Armed with plasma rifles. All dead. Vorkash stared at the map, his claws tightening into fists. Deploy drones, he finally growled. Flush the rat out. Kurtal hesitated. Sir, we already have. 6 drones sent. All destroyed within seconds of deployment. Vorkash's patience snapped. He slammed his fist into the holo table, his claws raking against the metal. This is impossible, he snarled. No human is that skilled. One sniper cannot outmaneuver an entire occupation force. But the battlefield report said otherwise. The sniper was winning. One shot at a time. Vesper 12 Streets, Korvac Patrol Unit Theta 9. Sergeant Kolgeth led his squad through the ruins, his plasma rifle held tightly against his chest. His breathing was shallow, his mandibles twitching in nervous anticipation. He hated this. Every single step forward felt wrong. The sniper was watching. Somewhere out there, hidden in the ruins, the ghost was waiting. They had tried to be smart this time, no moving in open streets, no standing in exposed rooftops. Every approach was calculated. They moved in staggered formations, switching between cover points, scanning every window, every shadow. But it didn't matter. Because he was still out there. Kolgeth felt his scales crawl. Keep your eyes open, he growled through gritted mandibles. the human is. Crack. A single gunshot echoed through the ruins. Kolgetha's second-in-command, Private Lorvac, collapsed mid-step. Dead before he hit the ground. The squad froze. No warning. No sign of where the shot came from. Just an instant, perfect kill. Kolgetha's pulse pounded. He's got eyes on us, someone shouted. Where is he? Kolgeth whipped his rifle toward the nearest building. No movement. No glint. No trace of the shooter. This wasn't just a sniper. This was something else. Something unnatural. Get to cover. Kolgeth barked, diving behind the wreckage of an abandoned speeder. His squad scrambled for safety. They waited. Listening. Watching. Then. Crack. Another soldier fell. Crack. Another. Each kill was surgical. No wasted shots. No misses. One by one, the squad was being erased. Kolgetha's hands trembled. He felt something he hadn't felt in years. Terror. This isn't a man, he whispered. This is a demon. He turned to run. Crack. Darkness. Galactic Council Chamber. The transmission ended in dead silence. The once arrogant council members sat frozen in their thrones, their expressions drained of amusement. The laughter was gone. Instead, there was only the cold, undeniable truth. Humanity had teeth. Silix's mandibles twitched. He could feel his own pulse hammering against his skull. This? His voice cracked. This is not the work of an ordinary soldier. Keital, the insectoid strategist, clacked his mandibles in frustration. This is a trained marksman. A specialist. A demon, Drekken 7 muttered. Silix's claws curled. A sniper. For the first time, that word terrified them. One shot. One kill. An entire army falling apart to a single man. The council had mocked humanity. Now, they had awakened a monster. And the hunt had only just begun. The fear had spread beyond the battlefield. At first, the Korvac commanders had thought they were dealing with an ordinary human soldier. Just another primitive warrior who got lucky. But the bodies kept piling up. 43. Then 50. Then 73. The sniper was unstoppable. A lone ghost moving through the ruins of Vespa 12, hunting them like prey. Always unseen. Always precise. Always deadly. And now, the once mighty Korvac forces were breaking apart. They needed a plan. And they needed it now. Korvac High Command, War Council. Commander Vorkesh stood at the center of the war room, his claws digging into the metal table. His yellow eyes burned with frustration as the latest reports came in. 20 more dead. Every squad they sent into the city had been systematically eliminated. The sniper didn't just kill. He hunted. Korvac warriors weren't used to this kind of war. They were conquerors, accustomed to overwhelming their enemies with brute force. Their armies numbered in the thousands. Their warships blotted out the sky. But now? Now, they were being slaughtered by a single shadow. This is unacceptable, Vorkesh growled. We are the might of the Galactic Council. We will not be humiliated by a single human. His second-in-command, Kurtal, shifted uneasily. Commander, I believe we are dealing with something more than a simple soldier. Vorkesh narrowed his gaze. Explain. Kurtal hesitated before pulling up a holo display. A human military dossier appeared. Before Earth was destroyed, their species had warriors known as snipers. They were trained for long-range assassination, stealth, and evasion. They specialized in one-shot kills. Some could remain hidden for days, weeks without being found. The war room was silent. Vorkesh read through the information, his mandibles clenching. One section caught his eye. Name, unknown. Military affiliation, U.S. Special Forces, Sniper Division. Confirmed kills, classified. Threat level, extreme. Kurtal swallowed. Commander, we are dealing with a ghost. A man trained to kill entire armies. Vorkesh's claws tapped against the table. He would not allow this human to continue humiliating them. We're not fighting a ghost, he spat. We're fighting a man. And men can die. He turned toward his officers. Deploy the hunters. Vespa 12, the hunt begins. The Korvac had finally realized the truth. This wasn't a normal war. This was a game of patience and precision. And the sniper was winning. So they changed their tactics. They brought in their elite trackers, the hunters. These were not common foot soldiers. They were apex predators within the Korvac ranks, trained to move silently, unseen, just like their target. They wore stealth armor, blending into the ruins. Their helmets had advanced thermal optics, designed to detect even the smallest heat signatures. If the sniper thought he was the only ghost on the battlefield, he was about to learn otherwise. Sniper's Nest, the waiting game. The sniper watched. Through his scope, he had seen everything. The Korvac were getting smarter. They were changing tactics. This was good. It meant they were scared. He adjusted his rifle, his gloved fingers calm and steady. The ruins stretched before him, broken buildings, shattered streets, collapsed vehicles. A graveyard. The perfect hunting ground. Then he saw them. The hunters. 6 of them. They moved differently than the others. No loud footsteps. No reckless movement. They didn't take the main roads. They stuck to the shadows, using cover intelligently. Smart. But not smart enough. The sniper's eye narrowed as he zeroed in on the lead hunter. He exhaled. His finger grazed the trigger. Crack. The bullet tore through the Korvac's helmet, exploding his skull instantly. The other hunters froze. The sniper didn't. Crack. Another one dropped. The remaining 4 scrambled for cover. They didn't shout, didn't panic. They knew how this worked. Good. That made it more fun. The sniper adjusted his position, moving silently through the wreckage. His rifle was an extension of his body. His breathing remained slow, methodical. Through the scope, he spotted a hunter trying to flank him. Clever. Too slow. Crack. The bullet went through his throat. Blood sprayed the walls. 3 left. They were learning now. They weren't moving. They were waiting. This was a test of patience. The sniper smiled. Let's see who breaks first. Minutes passed. Then an hour. The sniper remained motionless, his scope scanning the battlefield. No movement. The hunters were playing it smart. They weren't exposing themselves. But there was one problem. The sniper wasn't alone. He had drones. Small, silent, cloaked recon drones. One of them hovered above the ruins, scanning thermal signatures. There. A faint heat signature. The sniper adjusted his angle, his scope locking onto a pile of rubble. He saw the hunter's breath. He exhaled. Crack. A direct hit. The Korvac slumped forward, his lifeless body falling from his hiding spot. 2 left. The sniper moved, shifting to a new position before they could track him. The last 2 hunters were trapped. They had been hunting him. Now, they were the prey. One of them made a mistake. He tried to run. Crack. The sniper took him mid-sprint, sending his corpse skidding across the ground. The last hunter was alone. The sniper waited. He could feel the tension, the fear. The Korvac soldier tried to disappear, pressing himself into the ruins, desperate to survive. But the sniper was patient. Minutes passed. Then, a tiny shift. A flicker of movement. Crack. The last hunter dropped. The sniper remained still. Listening. Watching. The battlefield was silent once again. He had won. Again. Korvac High Command, the breaking point. The war room was chaos. The hunters, their best trackers, were gone. Dead. Killed just as easily as the rest. Vorkesh stared at the reports, his mind reeling. How is he doing this? Kurtal whispered, his voice filled with horror. Vorkesh had no answer. He turned toward the Galactic Council's transmission feed. Silix, Katal, and Drekken 7 all stared back, their faces grim. This human, Silix said. He is more than a sniper. Katal hissed. He is an executioner. Vorkesh clenched his fists. This war was supposed to be over. Earth was supposed to be dead. And yet, one man was still fighting. And he was winning. The Korvac had underestimated humanity. Now, they were paying the price. In blood. The Galactic Council had seen war before. They had conquered planets. Annihilated species. Reduced entire civilizations to ashes. But they had never faced anything like this. A single human. A sniper. And he had turned their entire invasion force into a graveyard. Vesper 12, the Ghost Domain. The ruins were silent. Not the silence of victory. Not the silence of peace. This was a hunter's silence. A silence that came before death. The Korvac knew that now. Every ruined building, every broken street, every shadow could be hiding him. They stopped moving in the open. They stopped talking on open comms. Some had even stopped breathing too hard, fearing that the ghost lurking in the wreckage would hear them. Because when he found you, it was already too late. Crack. Another soldier's helmet exploded, his body slumping forward before his comrades even registered the shot. The squad panicked, diving for cover. Sniper! His! Crack! A second soldier dropped. The others didn't even dare look. They were trapped. Pinned in a kill zone where every direction led to death. The sniper's voice crackled over their comms. Run! They hesitated. Run! The Korvac warriors did what no elite soldier should ever do. They ran. And the sniper hunted them one by one. Korvac High Command, desperation. We are losing control. The war room was in chaos. Reports came flooding in. More Korvac dead. More squads wiped out. Their armored divisions? Destroyed. Their air support? Shot down before it could even get a lock on the sniper. Their elite hunters? Eliminated. It was no longer a war. It was a massacre. Vorkesh slammed his fists onto the table. This is impossible, he growled. He is one man. Kurtel's voice was shaky. Sir, we may need to consider. Vorkesh turned on him, his yellow eyes blazing. Do not say it. But Kurtel did. We may need to retreat. A heavy silence filled the room. Retreat. The Korvac Empire had never retreated before. But they had never fought a war like this before, either. Vorkesh's claws dug into the metal table. We are the Korvac. We do not retreat. We crush our enemies. He turned toward the battlefield display. No more squads. No more tactics. We will burn him out. He pointed to a location on the map. A missile silo. A weapon designed to level entire cities. If we cannot kill the sniper, Vorkesh growled, then we will erase the battlefield. He gave the order. And hell followed. Vesper 12, Firestorm. The sniper heard it before he saw it. A deep, guttural rumble in the sky. Missiles. Hundreds of them. Each one carrying enough firepower to flatten the ruins in seconds. A normal soldier would panic. The sniper smiled. The Korvac were desperate. They weren't trying to fight him anymore. They were trying to erase him. He adjusted his scope. He still had one shot left. One shot before the missiles turned Vesper 12 into a wasteland. He had to make it count. The target? The silo itself. The place where the Korvac had launched the strike from. It was heavily fortified. A fortress surrounded by armor, shields, and elite guards. But there was one weakness. The main reactor. He exhaled. He adjusted for wind speed. Gravity. Distance. And then, crack. The bullet flew. A kilometer away, the round tore into the reactor core, piercing its casing. The effect was instantaneous. The silo detonated. A chain reaction. One explosion triggered another, which triggered another. And before the Korvac even knew what was happening, the entire launch facility went up in flames. The missiles never reached Vesper 12. Instead, they fell back down onto the Korvac positions, wiping out half their remaining army. The sniper watched through his scope as fire engulfed the sky. He had won. Again. The aftermath, the fall of the Korvac. The battle was over. And the Korvac had lost. Their forces were in ruins. Their commanders were dead. Their entire invasion plan had been shattered by a single human. The surviving warriors, demoralized and broken, did what was once unthinkable. They fled. For the first time in history, the Korvac retreated from a battlefield. They had come to this planet expecting an easy victory. They had laughed at human weapons. Mocked their soldiers. Called them flumbly. Now? Now they whispered about the ghost in the ruins. The sniper who never missed. The human who had hunted them like animals. And the legend had only just begun. Korvac War Council, final transmission. The Galactic Council sat in horrified silence. Silix, K'Tal, Drekken 7, all of them watched the footage. They saw the aftermath. Burning Korvac bodies. Dead generals. Soldiers crying out in terror. And above all, the one human who had done it all. K'Tal's voice was shaky. We underestimated them. Drekken 7, usually so confident, was pale. If one human did this, what would happen if more of them survived? Silix's voice was cold. We should pray they do not. The transmission cut off. And for the first time in history, the Galactic Council feared humanity. The Galactic Council had once thought humanity was flumbly, weak, unremarkable, not a threat. Now, the remains of the Korvac invasion force told a different story. Their soldiers were dead. Their war machines were destroyed. And the survivors? They weren't warriors anymore. They were prey. But the nightmare was not over. Because the sniper was still out there. And he wasn't finished yet. The final hunt begins. The Korvac survivors scattered across the ruins of Vesper 12. It had been a full day since their retreat began, but their horror had only grown. They had tried everything to escape. Drop ships. Shot down. Radio signals. Blocked. Reinforcements? Refused to come. Even their strongest warriors were being picked off. The sniper didn't just kill them. He hunted them. One by one. No pattern. No mercy. Some bled out in the rubble, screaming for help that would never come. Others tried to hide. It didn't matter. He always found them. Commander Vorkesh, the last surviving general, clenched his fists. "This is not war," he growled. "This is slaughter." His second-in-command, Kurtal, swallowed hard. "We must regroup," he urged. "Find the sniper. End this." Vorkesh's eyes burned. "No." Kurtal hesitated. "Sir." Vorkesh's claws dug into the metal table before him. "We are not fighting a soldier," he growled. "We are fighting a monster." Kurtal didn't argue. Because deep down, he knew it was true. The sniper's promise. Hidden deep within the ruins, the sniper adjusted his scope. His breath was steady. His focus? Absolute. He had one mission left. And it wasn't just about winning. This was about sending a message. A warning to the entire galaxy. Never underestimate humanity again. His crosshairs locked onto Vorkesh. The last Korvac general. A kill that would end this war permanently. But the sniper was patient. He didn't take the shot. Not yet. Instead, he did something far worse. He spoke. "I see you, Vorkesh." The Korvac general froze. His blood ran cold. The sniper's voice was like death whispering in his ear. "You and I both know how this ends." Kurtal stepped forward. "Commander, what?" Vorkesh spun, eyes wild. "He's here," he hissed. "He's watching us." Kurtal paled. Then, crack. Kurtal's head snapped back, his body hitting the ground with a wet thud. The shot had come from nowhere. The Korvac scrambled, shouting orders, looking for cover. But there was no cover. Because the sniper was everywhere. And now? He was done playing games. The escape that never came. Vorkesh's last chance was a single dropship, hidden beneath the wreckage of a collapsed tower. The sniper knew it. And he let them run for it. Why? Because he wanted them to feel hope. Only to rip it away. As the dropship engines roared to life, Vorkesh felt a flicker of relief. They were leaving. They had survived. And then, crack. The cockpit exploded in a shower of flames and metal. The pilot's burning corpse slumped forward, the ship lurching sideways. The sniper had shot the engine. The dropship crashed back into the ruins, flames licking at its sides. Vorkesh crawled from the wreckage, his legs shattered, his breathing ragged. He tried to pull himself up. And that's when he heard it. The sound of boots on concrete. The sniper had found him. A name that will never be forgotten. Vorkesh looked up. For the first time, he saw him. The sniper. A human. Dressed in battered combat gear, his rifle still smoking. His face was covered in dirt and blood. But his eyes? His eyes were cold. Vorkesh coughed. "It took all of this to stop us." The sniper knelt beside him, tilting his head. "No." His voice was calm. "It took one shot." Vorkesh's breathing hitched. He knew it was over. But he had to ask. "Who are you?" The sniper raised his rifle. "You don't need to know my name," he said softly. Then he pulled the trigger. Crack. Vorkesh's body jerked once. Then went still. The Korvac Empire's last hope was gone. And with that final shot, the war was over. The Galactic Council's warning. The footage spread across the galaxy. The Korvac defeat was absolute. And at the heart of it all? One human sniper. Entire civilizations watched in terror. Because if one man could do this, what would happen if more humans joined the war? The Galactic Council gathered in urgency. Silix, the elder diplomat, shook his head. "We made a mistake," he whispered. Drekken 7, usually arrogant, was pale. If one sniper could cripple an empire, imagine what an entire army of them could do. A single phrase echoed across the council chambers. A phrase that would be remembered for generations. Never underestimate humanity again. Epilogue, the sniper vanishes. Vesper 12 was silent once more. Not with the silence of war. But the silence of a graveyard. The sniper was gone. No one knew where. Some believed he had vanished into the ruins. Others thought he had left the planet entirely. But the legend remained. The ghost who had crippled an empire. The hunter who had shattered an invasion. A single human. And the galaxy would never forget him. Because somewhere out there, he was still watching. Still waiting. And if the Galactic Council ever made the mistake of attacking Earth again? They knew exactly what would happen.